Invictus, my kings, and welcome to the first video on the Slavicus Maximus channel, and today we'll be reacting to Shoe0nHead's male loneliness epidemic. Now, the male loneliness epidemic is a bit of a hot topic issue at the moment, and I've seen that quite a few VTubers were reacting to various videos from Shoe. Never actually seen them, so let's go together. It should be fun, and it should be educational, and we should learn something. Now, the male loneliness epidemic could also be called the peace and quiet epidemic, but I would absolutely never suggest anything like that. So, yeah, let's go.
I regret to inform you the men are not okay. That's right, folks, the men are not okay. The men have no friends.
Men have fewer friends than ever, and it's harming their health. The male friendship recession is having dire consequences. Yeah, I've definitely seen there be less friend groups around my part of town, in my country of Slovakia. There are fewer friend groups. It's getting a little bit more granular, more isolated, I would say.
No girlfriend. No.
These are going by way fast. A generation of American men give up on college. I just feel lost. The number of men enrolled in 2- and 4-year colleges has fallen behind women by record levels, in a widening an education gap across the U.S. Yeah, that's it's fairly old news.
No money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones.
Maybe I should get on that. My short ass 180 centimeters is not the best, but I get the feeling that if you do something like this, you would have a hard time jumping or even squatting or doing anything like that. So yeah, probably not.
To be a few inches taller, and listening to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve
whatever works,
Turns
whatever
out the
gets you to
society
stop
that was
gooning.
built by and allegedly for men has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoe0nHead. Yes, and if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else.
True, very true. There's a lot of end time and stuff out there, or there's a lot of pro-feminist and pro-women content out there, but there really isn't enough content about the male perspective or about men in general. And even if it is about men, it usually turns out to be about women in the end.
Crisis,
nice.
And it seems nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit. Not me.
Yeah, it's been one of the big disappointments seeing the red pill and the manosphere crowd from outside turn essentially into a bunch of shells or a bunch of grifters that really just in the end want to sell a bunch of stuff to their audience, and it's been really disappointing because at the beginning of the whole movement, or whatever you want to call it, it really seemed like it would be something positive, you know, talking about men, about men's issues, about the mental health situation and all that. But in the end, it turned out to be a bit of a grift. And now there are obviously some people in the movement that are honest and genuine and do it for the right reasons, but a majority of them seem to be just selling courses and books. Yeah, that's basically all there's to it.
I'm different.
Why are men and boys struggling? And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children too.
See? You talk about men, and immediately we have to talk about women as well. It's just how things are, man.
It's predicted 45% of women
45% of women are expected to be single and childless by 2030 per recent projection. Recent data predicts that 45% of women between ages 25 and 44 will be single and childless by 2030 rolls around. Number of single women in the US is expected to rise 1.2% every year. Now that's a lot. That is quite a lot, and you wonder what it's going to do to the demographics and what it's going to do to birth rates, essentially. It's going to be, America's going to completely plummet, and much of the West
will be single and childless by 2030. But according to the media, this is a good thing.
The rise of the she economy,
as they say.
Good news for these retailers.
And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very
Oh
derogatory.
yeah, berate,
Yeah, man,
berate, berate. That's always the case. Berate, berate. Never offer up any solutions or any real reforms or anything that would actually help anyone. Just berate, berate. Explain away and berate, just so you don't have to do anything about it. Just so you get to pat yourself on the back and say what a wonderful good job you did, really speaking about current issues, but never actually doing anything productive or transformative.
Listening to that derogatory music, then maybe you won't be
Derogatory
single.
music.
I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just
Yeah.
wave it off as empowering or
Yeah.
pathetic. According to several
Absolutely.
different articles, I love how that's my source. I read about it on the internet. Research shows that people from individualist
good a source as
countries
any.
show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan
I would actually add financialization into that mix, where there are no real ways to prove your worth as a man, essentially. Prove your worth in today's world that isn't directly linked to your financial status. Whereas from ancient times up until well into the 19th century, if you were your local village smith, you could earn a lot of money. Yeah, sure, if you were one of those smiths that got to make really artful pieces or worked on weapons and worked during a military campaign. However, if you were one of those smiths that just hangs around your local village, you could still make a really good name for yourself, because people depended on you. You were needed for making repairs to tools, for making tools. You didn't have a problem grabbing a wife. Didn't have a problem getting into a relationship at all. You didn't have a problem getting apprentices. Even though these sort of trades were sort of handed down from father to son, still you were needed in the community, because you were needed for horseshoes, for horseshoeing. You were needed to make their tools for farming. You were needed to repair their tools for farming. And it's not as if the average village smith would be really rich. In fact, many of them had to do farming to support themselves. However, they were still very respected within their community. They proved their worth to the community. And you can find a myriad of these artisan examples. Like, for example, carpenters, same general idea. But in general, financialization and globalization has really done a bit of damage to really this concept of proving your worth, and becoming respected within your local community. Because even if you focus on the financial stuff, well, who is the richest man in your local area? Who's the richest woman in your local area? Who knows? Who knows? Because there's always someone richer. There's never like this big patron figure of your local village or your local small town, or even just your city or big city. There are no longer any sort of like local patrons. It's always these celebrities or these multi-billionaires that are the talk of the town in any town, in all towns. And the local hierarchy of who does what and who is who, and everybody sort of generally knows each other, that's really gone by the wayside, and it has really infringed upon this sort of sense of really accomplishing something, because you never really accomplish anything just on your own. You accomplish anything sort of set within a certain standard. You always are getting compared to, this guy on YouTube did it better, this guy on Twitter did this better, this guy is a multimillionaire, so why would you even try, right? It is what it is. That's just how the modern world functions. So financialization, definitely.
also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people they call the hikikomori.
Yeah, the hikikomori.
Did I say that right?
Yeah. basically.
Okay. Basically, postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been
Man, Japan's really getting cooked. I wonder how things are in my local country, in my country of birth and country of residence, that is Slovakia. Okay, so extreme loneliness is being felt by 5.2% of the population. Loneliness in general is being felt by 25.3% of the population, and social isolation, where you essentially have no connections whatsoever, is 19.1% of the population. That's really interesting. It's a good thing we had like a 19th of February. We had a very recent survey about this. That's kind of interesting. I wouldn't think about it like that. Is extreme, like social isolation, 19%. It's quite a bit. I do say that it's mostly prevalent in people who live in cities that are about above 100,000 residents, and that a lot of it is due to people who are unemployed, people who are feeling lonely. 41% people who were unemployed feel lonely. That's I mean, it makes sense that some people like that would feel lonely, but that's quite a bit. All right, so feelings of loneliness and social isolation are most prevalent in cities above 100,000 people. That's 30.4% of people who were asked and were lonely were from big cities. And in smaller cities, only 18%. So that's quite interesting. So if you live in a rural area, you still have a better chance of being less lonely and less socially isolated, and that's a difficult term to say. The feelings of isolation are more prevalent in women in our sort of area. So in Central/Eastern Europe, mostly it's women that would be feeling lonely, not men. And same with social isolation. And people above the age of 65. So women and people above the age of 65 feeling lonely. That's very interesting. You would think that obviously with the older people you would sort of understand, but with women, they're very much more social than men. So maybe they just aren't getting their needs fulfilled. Maybe it's because it's more of a traditional society, very traditional and Catholic around here. So maybe it's just the flip side of the male loneliness epidemic in America. It's the female loneliness epidemic over here. Maybe, I don't know. All right, so let's check out the Czech Bros. And apparently the Czech Bros, only 13% of people in the Czech Republic seem to be lonely, which is quite interesting. This is a funny sentence where essentially people see discomfort or bad feelings as the norm, which is just supposed to be weighted through. So maybe we have less of a loneliness epidemic because we're used to things being bad, which is a very interesting way to look at it. But yeah, so the Czech Bros are a bit less lonely than we are, by about 10%, which yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, back to Shoe we go.
A sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them.
I wonder how well that actually works. Because some people are naturally just more anxious when they have eye contact. And I'm really not entirely sure how if that would work or how well it would work, it's worth studying, I suppose.
Back into society. So basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting
Yeah, definitely the rise of the streamer has done quite a bit of damage, I think, to the social fabric of society. Look at me making a video talking about that. But it definitely had the sort of parasocial relationship that can develop has, in some cases, just replaced normal relationships.
Women when I could just tap, Google big boob and get 2 million results. Or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're
Yeah, the AI girlfriend stuff, you see a lot of ads. You watch like 1 or 2 VTuber videos, you maybe watch something about anime, and the ads on YouTube just filled with AI girlfriends, anime AI girlfriends, cartoon AI girlfriends, just fleshy looking AI girlfriends. It's a menace. It's a menace is what it is.
We're so fucked. Dating apps really are the great Satan, and I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on
dating apps back in the day, in like the early 2000s, from let's say 2005 to 2015, dating apps were really just basically forums where people talked and they met each other by talking with each other on a forum. But nowadays it's just swiping. It's very different.
dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies. At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane. It's safe to say that
Wait, what was that graph? Sorry, I missed it.
But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane.
Oh, men rate women. Okay, so yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah. Least attractive Muslim. Yeah, the men get completely shafted. 2% are even above average, and even then, nobody is most attractive. It's quite crazy. I wonder if anyone actually uses was it OkCupid? I wonder if anyone actually uses OkCupid to like find a spouse, and you look at this and you're just like, well, that's not happening. That's definitely not happening.
It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at all these statistics, the explosion of figures like
1 in 5 no close friends. That's insane. I wish the Slovak survey got a little bit more depth with it, because it would be interesting to see just how well the women are doing, since women seem to be more lonely where I am. That's quite something. 1 in 5 no close friends. That's cooked. It's over.
Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it starts so differently. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And
that's partially true. It's partially true just on a biological level. It's always been the case that proving your worth, it's what I talked about. Proving your worth is an important factor, and the ability to prove your worth is very important to any man, because it means that you are something. You fit into the group. You have a position. You're not just a cog in the machine. It's very important. Political identification, 12th grade boys, percentage of liberal conservative. Yeah, definitely. There has been a massive shift of men towards the right. You can see it everywhere. It's been happening all over the world.
recently a new study came out about how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdom, leftist, whatever you want to call this space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate?
Yeah, it's always this, as she said, it's a song and dance, but it's never actually coming up with any sort of tangible ways to talk with men. It's always just this berating. It's always just berating.
We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances, some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues. And the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at...
The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them for our own sake. Well, yeah, you need to talk to them. You need to talk with them. Is it that difficult of a subject to really broach? Like what's your deal? What's bothering you? What's bothering you about our messaging? What's bothering you about the world in general? Why are you feeling down? Why might you be a little bit more lonely? Why are you flocking to alt-right MRA movements? Is it really that difficult?
Their own spaces for not doing enough to address said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but it does
mean
you
can
that
absolutely
we should
talk
be
about more
focused
things.
On what it is.
You can absolutely talk about more things at the same time. It's not as if just because you talk about one thing, tomorrow you could be talking about another thing. It's really not that difficult.
In society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that, men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't."
The responses
Absolutely
to these
true.
tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful. Me when I lie. LMAO.
Said Hassan. Yeah, it is.
Cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the f*** up then. Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room
That's
with us right
insane.
now? Maybe men are just not good people then.
Not good people then. How does that have anything to do with loneliness and feelings of isolation? And so if in our neck of the woods the women are having these problems, is it women that are not good people? Is it old people that are not good people? It doesn't make sense, man.
I'm so fucking tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem.
But it is. It's 50% of the
These are
population.
not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the up. Why are we trying to win these entire...
So let me get this straight. These are liberal, left-leaning people that are like this. The people whose whole ideology revolves around bettering the environment for the working class and lifting people up and that sort of thing. And this is the response that they get for wanting to talk with men. Because they didn't really come out with any sort of major statement. They just said we should probably talk with them. And this is the response. That's insane.
idle little predators over. The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging.
The problem is our messaging
It's
is
literally
them.
not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps. Nah, it's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL. Cry harder, losers. 90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence. By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then.
Yeah, there really is nothing to add. It's just... that's just too much, man. I just don't understand it.
Then, listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognize most of the sort that look like me are the problem.
Most of the sort that look like me, so people who are in their 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, have bad skin. Those are the people that are the problem. All these categories. Man, it's quite the problem we have.
I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation. The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape? Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community.
How is that even remotely related? Dude, like, how is it even remotely related to loneliness? Don't be a rapist. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping? Act like a decent fucking human being. It's not hard. Is brain dead advice? Brain dead advice like get consent and don't be a Nazi and
how is it
women
related?
Are people. Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like
kids, don't be racist.
How is
incredible.
It even remotely related?
Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet.
Save
3.
the planet.
Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist.
Again, how is it related? Like, this is the advice I would give my young boys to what? To feel less lonely, to feel less socially isolated, to make friends, get enthusiastic consent. Yeah, okay. Great parenting.
What the f is this? How does this address men and their issues? It doesn't. Why does their advice always seem to be become a liberal?
Yeah,
hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit.
Well, obviously.
Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No shit. Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete. Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm
what a
without a man there.
What an
and
absolute
speaking as a
pick-me.
man, most of us are hard to be around, and I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks. Oh my god, dude, this is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like
absolutely.
to me. Just with the gender
What a pick-me.
swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off.
No,
as a
it
man,
doesn't.
I'll say this.
Let's read the whole thing. Let's read the whole thing.
Me. Just with the gender swapped. This is pathetic. You know what?
With the realization that slapping human flesh together isn't worth it. It's boring, disease, and unwanted pregnancy. Also attaching yourself to mother of each other the rest of your life. Get a hobby. Jerking it doesn't fix anything. It really just makes things worse at the end of the day. Because you become addicted to prawn and corn and all the various really bad things that follow up with that. It's just, it doesn't work, man. What are you doing? What are you saying?
Fixes male loneliness? Jerking off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise. Yeah, guys, just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman would be very disappointed in all of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist entitlement, and the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking the bucket?
Oh,
now
they
just
are.
come on here and try to
They
make their
are.
loneliness and misery into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
Men are still kicking the bucket.
Yeah.
And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps.
That is insane. That is insane. That's like saying we don't need to give foreign aid to anyone because they created a problem and then fix it. It's the same logic. However, they would absolutely deny the latter, but they stand by this. It's very interesting. Very interesting. The sort of they can hold two beliefs at once, and they're contradictory towards each other. But you know, whatever. It's not my business
To fix it. We have other things to care about. Men can figure out their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue, and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually spot on. I think it should be left to men to figure out their own stuff. They really don't need anyone else, and I think the expectation that someone is going to save us is the wrong expectation. You're never gonna get that in the modern world. You're never gonna get any help with anything. And so this whole male loneliness thing, I think it will probably most likely be solved by some sort of male it's going to be solved by the same people who suffered the most, which is men. Yeah.
Their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftist, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man, and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone.
Yeah, I agree.
These people rightly mock.
Because you're not going to get any help anyway. You're not going to get any help. Nothing. So it doesn't matter.
The bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man, and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're
crying?
crying?
It is a big problem. The whole stoicism, being overly non-emotional and everything like that, it definitely is a problem. And the roots of the male loneliness epidemic, the roots are basically somewhat within the whole extreme stoicism thing and not showing your emotions, but it's only a part of it. It's not the whole problem. It's only a part of it.
Your grandfather's funeral? Okay, faggot. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke?
UK Builders Go Book study finds 3/4 of tradesmen discuss their feelings with colleagues, while 2/3 shun the fried breakfast, and nearly half say they're history buffs. What? How are any of these things related? Dude, if you like history, that's great. I like history as well. Let's go.
To open up to your fellow men and discuss history. Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomena. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of, like, gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s, but social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that...
Sleep with them. It always comes down to this, doesn't it? That's the only solution. That's the only lens through which they can see this. Which is very interesting in itself.
Nobody wants to sleep with them. So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity.
So if the main issue of men is that they're privileged little boys, blah blah blah, then this is just women they're talking about, causing people to suffer food. This is just women they're talking about. So they only are out to help women, nobody else. Okay.
Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal. Wah. Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant. Men have been dropping out of college like flies. And what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing, but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
It doesn't
the question
just
of whether or not the hashtag online left is enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, that's going to...
That's just materialism. See, this is one of the issues why the left-leaning people have a little bit of a hard time understanding the nature of the issue when it comes to loneliness in general. It's because it's not just material, and the left views things mostly through materialism, and the modern age in general is just materialistic as hell. So yeah, materialism doesn't solve it. It doesn't solve the main issue, and so he's viewing it through a completely wrong lens.
Be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general
the situation
will not
hasn't really gotten better at all.
Any of this. But the right is, at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics.
Yeah.
How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh, y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop!
Yeah, absolutely.
I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like.
Yeah, that has to be.
We knew what it felt like.
Like these people who underwent socialization as women, then transitioned into a completely new world, and never went through the childhood and the socialization as a young child of being a man or being a male. That must be a very very shocking experience, and same way the other way around, obviously. But it has to be sort of this wildlands of emotional unavailability, of just not being sure who you are, where you stand, that sort of thing.
To like have people want to hug us, and to have people want to talk to us, and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem, because first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore.
Yeah,
whether
absolutely.
a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for. Men are lacking purpose, and a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of
true from point of view
male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think male loneliness
you better
has
do
been
that.
increasing? What are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness? And I will see you guys next time with a new video. Bye!
Okay, good video. Let's give it a like and a subscribe. From Slavicus Maximus to Shoe0nHead. Very good video. And yeah, so hopefully we'll learn something new, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my first reaction, my first video on this channel. And if you want to see more, for example, Shoe0nHead stuff, or more about the male loneliness stuff, then I plan on covering that quite a bit. So yeah, anyway, thanks guys, thanks Kings for watching, and see you next time.